Yeah, I
Hold on.
can't see if we're on or not.
No,
Oh,
we're
we
on.
are. We're
Uh,
on.
let's see. Let me fix this. Hello, world. Hello. It's Los Mates, episode number 2 with Dave and Michelle. We're back for another episode. Today's going to be short and sweet, guys. We're just going to do a quick 25 minutes of talking about the health benefits of mate. Michelle and I have been drinking. Michelle's been drinking mate her whole life. I've been drinking every day for the past, I don't know, 13 years or so, every single day. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the health benefits, our experience with mate, and how it helps us. We can't speak for the whole world. We can only speak about ourselves, and we'll go from there. So, Michelle, you want to start off about how do you feel that mate affects your life, affects your mind, affects your body?
Um, well, I want to touch on there are there are certainly some medical, if you will, health benefits. By the way, do we need to say something that like I'm not a doctor or doctors,
Yeah, yeah. This is all for
nor
educational
in the
purposes only.
medical field.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
I'm not a
Educational
I'm
purposes
not
only.
a yeah, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a certified nutritionist. But I am a human who's a lot of experiences. And I've had a lot of years under my belt drinking mate. So having said all, there certainly are said health benefits in terms of medical ones, in terms of things like, anti-inflammatory, fight cancer, things like this. But when you have a question, I feel like an interesting piece of that when we talk about benefits, health, and otherwise, I'd like to talk a little bit about thinking a little bit outside the box of like, well, it fights this, or it's high in this, or it reduces this. Um, the practice of drinking mate, the ritual of drinking mate, the experience around it, the community it builds, uh, the rhythm, um, is all also um, just as beneficial, and I qualify all as benefits too. So I'd like to take a couple minutes to just like give a shout out to Mate for those parts, because I feel like everyone's probably thinking, oh, well, what is, does it have this vitamin, does it do that? And it does do a lot of things like that, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But I also want to bring to light the piece that is how it fills my heart and soul, brings me joy, brings people together, creates a routine, one of the routines in my day, which I think routine is healthy. I think also spontaneity is healthy, like healthy mix of everything, right? But that thing that you look forward to, that thing that is part of your, which to me is a big time where I put a lot of focus on myself when I do a lot of things that bring me joy and sort of me before I go out into the world to deal with other people and the situations outside of myself. To just take a minute to kind of recognize that piece. I don't know if maybe that was the obvious one or where people's head was going. Thinking about what I was going to address today, I was sort of that came in as I was sort of like lovingly and enjoyingly like preparing my mate, and it's a personal thing, and everyone, it's a little bit there's a stir to it, for everyone, kind of the type that you drink, the type of vessel that you choose to drink out of, kind of therm, like, there's a little personalization, a little personality, and speaks to one's character. So I kind of wanted to, to bring all that stuff to light
Yeah.
in our conversation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we spoke upon last week or the week before our last podcast, and we're calling this podcast Los Mates, a kind of pun on the word mate, because mate can mean friends, mates, and then mate also
Mhm.
obviously mate, and it also means the vessel as well. So it means three different things. So we're calling this Los Mates. So yeah, kind of like what I touched upon last week. Mate for me, first and foremost, is a social binder. That's the number one thing for me in mate. It binds people together. It binds minds together. It kind of creates this circle, if you will, this metaphorical circle of unity. That's the first time I was exposed to mate within the circle. And then even when you're drinking it alone, I still consider that a circle. Like I'm bringing energy, I'm harnessing energy from this gourd. My mind is building new things, building new ideas, and the mate is helping me do that. So when it comes to health benefits of mate, I have to talk about the social aspect, bringing people together. But then we could get into the more practical matters of mate in terms of it just focuses your mind. I don't know how it does this exactly. Scientists don't fully know how it does this. People used to think there was a compound called matein in mate that helped do this, but that's sort of been debunked. Some people are not going to like me saying that, but as far as I know, in all the medical studies I've ever read on mate, there's no such thing as matein. There's just a unique combination of theophylline, theobromine, and caffeine, which works together with a high concentration of chlorogenic acid, which makes mate quite unique. So mate has a way of just focusing the mind, anything you're doing. The first time I noticed mate helped me was in reading comprehension. Because when I first started drinking mate 13 years ago, so the first thing that I noticed after a couple of weeks was I was able to comprehend data much better, much faster. It was much more with much more fluidity, and there was a lot less friction when I was learning any new topic. So for me, mate was a tool to help me learn. And that may sound kind of crazy, but mate drinkers know this intuitively. You know, when you're working, even physically working, physically picking things up, working in the gym, what have you, mate helps the muscles. It helps the muscles heal. It helps the muscles explode, if you will, with energy. So it's going to help you physiologically. It's going to help you psychologically. Later on, we could get more into, you know, some of the health studies in terms of lowering cholesterol, things like that. But the first thing that comes to mind for me is mate social, and then mate focusing on the mind, concentration. So what about you, Michelle? Have you found that mate helps you focus, concentration?
Yeah, I it there's a precision that I find comes through for me, like almost like the tunnel, like I get into the zone tunnel comes like
Yeah.
the shield almost like comes here and it's like I can hone in. Um, so there's definitely a focus, which I think I will also say is a parallel with the. I'm like careful about using this word, but there's a stimulation, and I think they work in junction with each other. I think the stimulation, or rather energy is maybe a better word, that is elevated, helps to create that, like, okay, like on it, I'm in the zone, let's do this, I'm all in, I'm all like everything is awake and alive, all my sensors are on, like it's like bionic
Mm,
sensation, and
yep.
all of that. I feel like all my levels turned up, uh, but in a really beautiful way. That's not like twitchy. That's not harsh. That's not. It's for sure. I mean, there's an energetic boost, but it's
Slow releasing almost.
clean. I don't know. I want to say like a clean.
Clean.
Yeah. It's not like a
Mm-hmm.
what like you're not like a jolted like some
Yeah, you're not going to be
kind
like
of.
feel exactly like I'm happy you brought that up about the whole like jittery effect because when I first started drinking mate, one of the easiest ways for me to explain mate to people who knew nothing about it was as a coffee alternative. For me, that was very simple segue, a very simple introduction into the mate world for most people because a lot of people say, well, yes, I'm drinking coffee. Coffee gives me energy, but I just feel really tired at night. I feel bogged down. You kind of get this like fried brain sensation. With mate, it was almost like a marked difference in terms of the energy delivery. I found that mate was more like clean, as you said, slow releasing, and I felt almost no crashing effects whatsoever from mate. I was able to drink it all day long. I still am. But, nowadays I kind of stopped drinking it around like 8 o'clock, which is kind of late for a lot of people. A lot of people stop drinking it around 5, but for me, I can drink it all the way up until 8 and 9 and still have a really great sleep. But for those of you who have a hypersensitivity to caffeine, I don't recommend that. I'd say after 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, you might want to ease your way off. But I also have to let people know that when you're drinking the mate out of a gourd like this, there's been studies that showed that after 2 or 3 gourds, if assuming that you're pouring water indiscriminately on top of the entire mate, 90% of the caffeine will be depleted after 3 of these, what I call cycles, every time you finish one of these. So after 3 cycles of water that's at least, let's say, 185 degrees Celsius, 180 degrees Fahrenheit, you're going to deplete the caffeine right away after 3 cycles. So after that, you're just going to be able to enjoy the mate. You're not going to have to worry about the caffeine. Not to say you have to worry. I'm just talking about in respect to being able to sleep at night. So, if you're having your last mate for the day, keep that in mind. You may want to have a mate at 5 or 6 o'clock, the last one. And then after 3 cycles, you can continue to baby sip this mate until you go to sleep, because there's not going to be, effectively at least, much caffeine at all. The caffeine levels will be nominal at most. So that's one thing to consider. Those of you who want to get off of coffee, coffee's highly acidic. Now, I'm not going to say coffee doesn't have health benefits. It does. I'm not going to go into that. But at the end of the day, coffee's highly acidic. Mate is more alkaline than acidic. And for most people, you're not going to get any crashing effects like you get with coffee. So that in and of itself is an opportunity for those of you on the fence that have been hearing about yerba mate but want to try it. Just think of it as a coffee alternative, and I swear, you're probably not going to go back to coffee. I used to drink coffee every day. Now I drink it, maybe once a week or so because I love the flavor. But for my energy needs, I wake up in the morning and I'm making yerba mate. 100%. It's a no-brainer for me. For you, Michelle, are you still big into coffee, or are you just kind of like whatever works for the day?
No, I haven't been a coffee drinker in like over 20, I mean, in a really, really long time. That being said, I love the smell of it. I love preparing it for people. I think it's got great, great, great. It's an incredible bean. More power coffee. I know the world loves it. They love to put milk and shit in it, and it's all. I like making coffee cups.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't even think about coffee. Isn't in my world, and hasn't been for a long time. But May is certainly for me. I'm more of personally. I am. I'm someone who waits a little while. I have day, usually, I don't know, 11:30, 12, something like that in the day. I'm not someone who I wake up pretty naturally. I have a lot of energy in the morning. I do lemon water in the morning as my first to alkaline my body. And then somewhere around midday, I do um, notice the sensation that I get for the day. I have it around midday when I'm doing my drawing and some other things. That's sort of like my time when I sit down to find like my to-do list and some other things. That's kind of when I have my mate. And I I might have a thermos. I'd certainly have a thermos, usually two. But I don't really refresh the yerba, the leaves. And I kind of like let it run. I refresh it every day, but once a day is what is mean. And that's kind of for me my run with it. Then I switch to water the rest of the day. Um, but you can certainly nurse a mate. You can nurse a mate all you want. Certainly it's a robust and strong flavor to begin, and then obviously as you pass through it, it gets a little tamer the day too. So if you're someone that finds it to be really intense at first, it will off as as more water passes through it. And so you can not only in the respect of, but flavor wise and that sort of the depth of it will also subside as you go through the day and go through however many many times you pour water.
Oh yeah, and what's
And
interesting
we
is that I was just gonna say that the Argentines and the Brazilians and the Paraguayans, like, for them, they rarely ever talk about the health benefits of mate, which is ironic because it's not ironic because, well, yeah, even though they're the kind of the holders of the mate, that's where the mate originates. For them, and like yourself, growing up with mate, they don't think twice about it. They're just like, of course I'm going to drink it. I drink it every day. And the health benefits are more like in the background for them. They're not really thinking about the health benefits, in my opinion. Nowadays, maybe more, but I remember 12, 13 years ago when I got into mate and I started talking about the health benefits to South Americans. They were like, really? Oh, I didn't know that. I just drink it. It just gives me energy and that's it.
Yeah, nobody's drinking it for the health benefits. That's for sure. I will agree with that.
Mhm.
Nobody is aware of them. I will agree with that. It's just part of, it's like, we're breathing air, we're
Yeah,
drinking mate. I mean, I do, it's, I see 3-year-olds drinking mate. So,
yeah,
there's nowhere you can sit down with the 3-year-old and be like, what do you think? Would you like this, anti-inflammatory,
yeah.
cancer fighting, chlorophyll? But I mean, no, you're not having that conversation, right? You just grow up with it, and then it's a thing that you've been doing. If there's
Hmm.
information added on later, that's great. Like, apple juice, yeah, later on have come to find out that apples have all these benefits, but we're not signing at the age of 5 to do like an apple juice thing of X, Y, and Z benefits, right? It's like, it's just drinking. So
Right.
um there's no, yeah, kind of like it's second nature really in most households. Then of course, you can add things to it, and you can put spins that will enhance, or certain, like herbs, and sometimes uh, the skin, like, or the rind, really, like citrus rind is a nice thing to add sometimes. I know someone who actually uses coffee instead of
How
water,
they mix it.
and that's some novel thing that that probably needs
That,
probably needs its own time.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. But exactly,
I mean,
like for instance, now somebody's asking from Paraguay, "What's up, buddy? If there's any health benefits
hola.
between the cold mate and the hot mate?" As far as I know, there's been no studies on that I'm aware of, but just from a basic, chemistry aspect outlook on this, I feel like the mate needs the heat to have the full extraction of these compounds, these beneficial compounds. I'm going to say at least 160 degrees Fahrenheit you should have as a threshold to begin to release these compounds. But again, you have a country like Paraguay where 90% of the population is drinking cold mate, and they are getting the benefits from it, of course, because
Mhm.
they're not only drinking the mate, they're also throwing in a lot of these native herbs in there, a lot of different native plants that a lot of people aren't aware of. They're mixing that with the mate, they're letting it infuse over long periods of time in some cases. And the Paraguayans are also making mate cocido as well. So my best guess would be that yes, hot mate or at least warm mate will give you more of the health benefits than cold mate. That's my best guess. Again, I'm not aware of any research on this at all. Me personally, though, I feel the benefits better or the best when the mate is hot. So I'm drinking hot mate all year round. I do flirt with tereré. Tereré, for those of you who don't know, is cold mate. You just drink mate with ice cold water, usually with mint or lemon or some sort of zesty citrus fruits. That's tereré. It's very common in Paraguay. But for me, I predominantly focus on the hot mate. Even the mates that say tereré across the bag, I still make them hot. I just love hot mate. I do play around with the cold mate for many years, but I just stick with the hot mate because it makes me feel the best personally. Michelle, do you play around with cold mate or?
I do. I think for me, when we're talking about those benefits, I'm going to go back to like the social of that. I find that in the hot summer months, I really enjoy to, especially to share, host, and tereré. It's really fun. Because uh, I live in Costa Rica. Party of the year, we have some incredible fruits. I love to make passion fruit juice and do tereré with that, and it's super delicious.
Mm-hmm.
And people like when it's 95 degrees all day, it feels good sometimes have something cold rather than something hot in the middle of the
Yeah,
day when I'm drinking mate. So and it creates it's a different element of, it's a conversation piece, and a spin on the um so yeah, I do, but my normal A is hot, traditional hot,
of course. And here's
straight
something
up.
I want to leave on, and this is just through my own experience. Again, I've never heard anyone do any research on this. It came to me. Maybe for some people it's obvious, but I do notice that when I drink the raw yerba mate, the raw mate from Brazil called chimarrão or erva mate, that mate for me is in an entirely different class in terms of effects. For me, that mate is very light, and the effects are light. So it's like when I'm drinking that mate, I'm not getting like the kind of like boom, robust hit of energy, which I love and appreciate. I drink that. I'm drinking that right now. But the raw yerba mate seems to me, and this is my theory, that the actual compounds of that mate have a higher bioavailability, so your body could more readily understand and absorb those compounds because the mate is totally raw. That mate hasn't been hit with any sort of, well, it has been flash dried, of course, all mate has been, but that mate hasn't been sitting for months and months and months and months like most mate has, which is a part of the mate culture. Don't get me wrong, most mate is aged for 6 to 9 months. But I think that the Brazilians are onto something with this whole raw yerba mate. It's very interesting. It's just that there's a huge barrier to entry with this mate because it's kind of cumbersome and difficult to make. But for those of you who are truly interested in the health benefits of mate, I would highly recommend incorporating some yerba mate, raw yerba mate, which we sell on circledrink.com. We have different brands like Yakui and Cultivada, which is one I really love, and Mate Nachivo. Try to incorporate some raw yerba mate into your life. I think that you'll begin to feel the differences of effects and health benefits from that mate compared to the aged mate in Brazil and in Argentina and Paraguay, Uruguay. It's not a matter of one's better than the other. It's more of an idea of using them all, in my opinion, if you have access to them for the whole complete health benefit spectrum. So I know Michelle has to run. I actually want to leave on one note too. Go ahead, Michelle. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I've never tried the Brazilian stuff, so I need to.
Oh, you never had it?
Well, I mean, as an Argentinian,
you guys don't mess with
it. You can't mess around with.
You can't mess around with them.
But I'm gonna go Reb. I'm gonna go AWOL and I'm gonna give it a try.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you some Yerba.
Right.
And for those of you guys and gals watching this, thank you so much. I want to leave you with a discount code for circledrink.com. It's just going to be out for 48 hours. Use the code HEALTH25 and you'll save 25% on anything at circledrink.com. Highly recommend you get into mate. This is one way to get into it. HEALTH25 on circledrink.com. And Michelle, like we said, we're going to try to get this going, like every 2 weeks, bi-weekly, something like that?
Yeah, every 2 weeks.
Okay.
We're on it.
Awesome.
Let's do
awesome. It. So the next one we'll start thinking about. And if anybody listening to this has ideas for the next one, shoot it in the comment section or email us at support@circledrink.com with your ideas for the next one. And as always, if anyone ever wants to join, you can join. You can join the gathering and be on this recording with us. Feel free to let us know. We'll send you a link to jump in. All right. Got any lasting word? The doggy's speaking.
Sorry, got wild animals outside. All right.
All right. So signing out, Michelle. You have any last words for the world?
Go get some.
Go get some.
Get some
Salud.
And report back.
Let us know.
Thank you.
Salud, everyone. Enjoy your mate. Have a great evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you're at. Dave Mate, Michelle, signing out from our episodes called Los Mates, the Mates. This is episode 2. Many more episodes to come. Glad to be back. Thank you so much. Salud.
Dave. Salud, everyone.
Salud.